Hello again. I was browsing through a charity shop the other day and I picked up this book, which is a very superficial guide to important ideas over the last 250 years or so. I might mention that I cannot resist when I see a book like this published and it's only £1.50. I simply cannot resist bringing it home just because I like to have some books on hand that I can check for, if some idea comes up. Somebody mentions transcendental meditation or continental philosophy. I like to be able to reach back into the bookshelf and get a book out, find out about it. It shows in this book important ideas over the last 240 years ago in politics, religious philosophy, psychology, sociology, art, music, astronomy, chemistry, physics and so on. Now, the point I want to make here is that something is very noticeable about this book, which is that every single idea explored was a product of minds of European or Asian ancestry. There is nothing whatever from any other continent. Why should this be? At first, a number of glib and apparently simple explanations suggest themselves, but these do not really tell us anything. They merely cause us to ask more questions and look even deeper into the question. For example, we might say that Africans and Australian Aborigines, and also the Native Americans, did come up with fantastic ideas in mathematics, philosophy, science and engineering. But because they had no form of writing, they were unable to record these marvellous insights for posterity. I have actually seen this argument advanced by people criticising the Eurocentric view of history. But this prompts us to ask then why people in Africa and Australia did not develop a system of writing. It was invented in the Middle East and China, but not in sub-Saharan Africa or Australia. Why should that be? Then again, surely the Chinese and Europeans have traditions of scholarship and abstract thought, whereas in the rest of the world they tend not to. Again we ask, why should this be so? Why should Europeans and Asians tend to go in for abstract thought? A popular cry when this subject is broached is that books like this and the teaching in schools in general in Europe and North America are Eurocentric. They focus too much on the achievements of Europeans and not enough upon those of Africans. Again, because no system of writing arose in Africa, we cannot really say anything about what they might have achieved, because there is no history of it. Another objection made is that we Europeans suppressed African and Australian culture, and that the inhabitants of North and South America as well, by our conquests of those continents and the empires and slave trade we set up. This is a popular view now in Australian schools. A lot of the time they are taught that the Australians, the native Australians, had a wonderful culture and marvellous buildings and that the Europeans destroyed them all. It is worth asking ourselves, how come it was that it was Europeans who built ocean-going vessels and sailed to Africa and America and Australia, rather than the Africans or Native Americans or Australian Aborigines being the first to build sailing ships, ocean-going vessels, and coming to explore and perhaps occupy Europe? Why did that not happen? I'm not proposing to give a definite answer to these questions because I do not have one. What I am able to say with confidence is that this imbalance between intellectual ability seemingly still exists. Does anybody seriously expect to see a Ugandan win the Nobel Prize for Physics in the near future? What about an Aboriginal inhabitant of Australia? Has anybody heard of any original work in science by black people over the last century or so? Why do viewers think that British A-levels in subjects such as physics and chemistry are often passed to the highest level by white, Chinese and Indian students, but not by those of African or Caribbean origin? Is this a cultural effect? If so, how did this culture arise? I'm fascinated by this subject and open to any explanation.